Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Irish Sports Daily Instant Reaction Post-Game Show. I am Greg Flamong. Jamie Uyama is in South Bend, so it's just going to be me. It's a solo show today. Very excited to be with you. We are on to Georgia, Notre Dame 27, Indiana 17. It was a great football game. Did they end the game the way that they wanted? No, they did not. We are in a situation where it kind of doesn't matter what it looks like, survive and advance, and that's what Notre Dame was able to do. Let me fix the angle of this real quick. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in right now. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know where it is. We are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing. 'Tis the season of giving. So the secret ESQ sale lives on. Use code ISD to get 25% off all online items through Christmas. Not valid on gift cards or custom items. Check out ESQ award-winning dress shirt on your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches and give the gift of style. If you're visiting Chicago, explore all of ESQ's bespoke options with over a decade of creating handmade bespoke clothing. ESQ's tailoring expertise will craft a garment as unique as you. ISD for 25% off. All right. The chat is going off right now. I appreciate it. Let's hit up some super chats real quick. First one from CFB Hertz. I have some questions, but most of all, I want to note that Indiana did not belong. A real playoff team does not give up and punt like that. I think there's two separate things with that. I think first, the punting from Curt Cignetti was a disgrace. This guy gets up and talks this big game. We blow out top 25 teams. We crush top 25 teams. This, that, and the other thing. You're punting from on 4th and 11 from Notre Dame territory. You're down 3 scores. That's not going to get it done. You can't have that stuff. He punted early in the game when I thought, what are you doing? You're punting right here. You know, you're not playing aggressive. It's 3rd and 8. You're just throwing the ball, and then you punt. You punt back to Notre Dame. They drive down and take a 14-0 lead. That's unacceptable. That's unbecoming. I was not impressed with the way Curt Cignetti handled this game. Not one bit. I did not like it. I did not think he did a good job. Another super chat from Zach Davis says Curt Cignetti punted again. That's right. That's terrible. You hate to see that. You hate to see that if you're an Indiana fan. But you love to see it if you're a Notre Dame fan. And first of all, before we get started on just the game itself and what we saw, what you saw, what everybody saw, it was a great day for Notre Dame football. I'm going to say it right now. It's the biggest win since the 1994 Cotton Bowl. It's the postseason. You call it a bowl win, big game bowl win, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. You're 11-1 team, and you play an 11-1 team in Indiana. They're a top 10 team by the committee. They played throughout the season. They were top 10. It was a huge game. The crowd was electric. I thought ESPN, what they did in the pregame, the way that they showed that, the warm-ups on the field, the way that they showed that, the way that they showed the crowd, the way that they showed the band, the way that they showed the band for the national anthem, the way they showed Notre Dame coming in, and then the blimp shot with the fireworks and everything. I thought that was unbelievable. It was a great day for Notre Dame football and what they were able to show, just highlighting the university, highlighting Notre Dame's football team, the football program, what a home game can actually look like. And look, I don't want to take a bunch of shots at NBC or anything like that. Okay, I don't. But I just feel like, and I think we've all kind of felt like they've been stale. Irish SPE says they need to step up their broadcast game. Look, it was such a breath of fresh air what Notre Dame and ESPN were able to do today, and just highlighting again what it can look like, and I was just like, I was fired up, like I had a physiological response to it, like my body was like getting charged up, like I was about to play. If anyone's ever played, you understand what that feels like. Your body has to get ready to go. I felt like that, and I haven't felt like that all year. And that was just great. It was a great setup by ESPN. It was a great scene. I hope people can, pop into the morning after recap show tomorrow so that I can get a feel for what it was like in that stadium, because it just seemed like it was electric. Seemed like it was electric for everyone. And so, that's how I feel. There was another super chat here from Brian Baelish. He says, "Hey, Jamie, we going all the way." I'll make sure to tell Jamie that when he's on the show. Jamie's the man. He's in South Bend. He covered the game. I look forward to hearing from him next week on what the scene was like. And it was a great day. I have to say, part of, ESPN and they're running the college football playoff committee. They're running the stat page that I'm putting up here. It's not as good. I don't like it as much. But it's just a great football game. And I like to, and it was just like, it was such a breath of fresh air. Like I said, Patrick Hennessy says Georgia -7. That is not going to be the line. That is not going to be the line at all. I saw an early one. I think it was Notre Dame -1.5. Obviously Carson Beck is out. He's not going to play in this game. So it's going to be something. Ryan ATL says, "I loved hearing the crowd noise come through the TV. It sounded loud." It did. Like I said, ESPN, they did a great job. Sean McDonough did a great job. I love hearing him call games. This was actually, like, I don't always listen to the broadcast. I listened this time. Sean McDonough is unbelievable. He was getting so upset with the Indiana fair catching the kickoffs. That was great. Drunk Vigo's upset. He didn't like the game. You know what, man? Like, to be honest with you, if you're in the chat and you're upset about this, what I would say is look at us. Look at where you're at, getting upset about a 10-point win in the playoffs at home against the number 8 team in the country. That's where Notre Dame is right now. Just off the top, before we get into things, Drunk V, I'm going to put you in timeout. This is unacceptable. You can't be doing that stuff. So I think just overall thoughts on the game. I think Indiana, I thought their defensive line, we said it all week. Jamie and I said it. This is a good Indiana front. They are a good football team. No one has gotten over on them. Nobody has. Ohio State didn't run the ball very well. Michigan didn't run the ball very well. If there were any red flags about the Indiana football team, it was not their defense. They had a good defense. We said they had a good defense, and they were going to give Notre Dame problems. I was concerned that the only way that Indiana could win this game is if they took control of the line of scrimmage and they kept Notre Dame from doing the thing that they want to do, which is run the ball. Notre Dame ended up with 193 net rushing yards. But when you got a 98-yarder in there, right? I see. When you got a 98-yarder in there, then it comes out to only, I guess it would be less than 100, right? So let's check it out. Let's see Notre Dame's let's see rushing. Jeremiah Love has a 98-yard run, 7 more carries for 10 yards. Okay. Jadarian Price, 11 carries, 32 yards. Riley Leonard, 11 carries, 30 yards. Aeneas Williams, 4 carries, 24 yards. With a 98-yard run in there. That Indiana made it very difficult for Notre Dame in this game. And while we're talking about this, we've got a special guest coming in here. He's coming in out of the bullpen, helping me out. Let me get him on here if I could just get him. There he is, the Godfather himself. Mike's out there. He's having a game watch party in the house. He's stepping away for the people. Mike, where are you at?
Yeah, sir. I'm at home.
About the game right now. How are you feeling about the game? What are your emotions in this moment?
I think back, Greg, to when Marcus Freeman was being considered to be the head coach, right? And a lot of
Yes.
fans were like, you know, we can't take a first-time head coach. It has never worked. It has never. Nobody's ever. It's not a good decision. All these
Bob
types of
Davey
things.
comparisons.
Yeah, and of course Charlie Weiss and all these types of things. And I totally, a lot of times I agree with that. But as I mentioned a long time ago, it's about finding the it guy, right? And that's what I called him. Urban Meyer's an it guy, and you have to find the it guy. I'm not saying that Marcus Freeman is going to be Urban Meyer, but I mean, they put this stat up in the game, Greg, and when you
Yeah.
see that he has more wins against top 25 teams than Frank Leahy in his first 3 years. I mean, come on, man. That's really impressive. And it's interesting because I do like a radio show. They call me from Alabama all the time, and I get on there and they ask me all these questions about, coaching and all these types of things about, and I said, hey, look, here's the thing. The one thing about Marcus Freeman, and I said this at the end, of course, I said famous last words. I said, but Marcus Freeman, when it's a big game, they may not win them all, but they don't get blown out. Brian Kelly would get blown out in all these games. They don't get blown out under Marcus Freeman. And when you say that, you realize what you have here, right? And this guy's only in his third year, and he's going to get better. And you know what I love seeing more than anything, Greg? He was just chewing that ref's ass, man. And I love that. That's what Marcus Freeman needs. That's the next step. And his team needs to see that he's standing up for him. I mean, I just think he's turning into a tremendous coach. This is such a well-coached team. It just really is. And I'm very, very excited about the future of what's going on. I mean, am I upset about, the ending of the game? Yeah, maybe a little bit, that's kind of the thing. But I just think that you're in a situation where they came out, they showed up, they played well, and I just think that you can't discount any part of that. They absolutely dominated this game for 3 quarters all the way up until 5 minutes left in the game, and then they kind of slept walk a little bit. You start playing zone defense and prevent, and you give up some plays, and but look, man, this is what we've been wanting. This is what we've been waiting for, Greg. And I can't be more excited about it. And it was funny, for people who remember way back when, we used to have the post-game show, and I had all my buddies, and we'd get together and we'd do the show. Mm-hmm. And it was funny because in talking with Shauno, he was like, Notre Dame has the most likable head coach in college football, and I really think he is. I think he's one of the most likable, endearing, just really good men. And this guy is the guy leading the program. So I'm so excited about what's the future is. We'll see what happens against Georgia. It's going to be a tough game. They got a great defensive line. They got a great defense. But you know what? This team shows up every week, Greg. And man, I just can't be more pleased, proud, happy to be a Notre Dame fan. And I think a lot of people were wondering, okay, will Notre Dame lay an egg in the game today? They absolutely kicked their butt. It was just not even close. And the only negative that I can say about the entire game is I'm worried about Rocco. I'm worried about Riley. And I'm worried about BY, Bryce Young. You can't lose those guys. Those are the only negatives I can think about in this entire game. And such a great job coaching, such a great job with leadership on the team. After that interception, you're sitting there and you're like, I just sat there. I was so angry. I was like, how could this possibly happen? And then X comes with a big play. And, that guy is just Johnny on the spot. The guy who just says, you know what? I'm putting this team on my back. And he's done it how many times? It's just, man, it's so exciting to follow this team and what the future of this team can be. And I sit here, Greg, and I just wonder, why aren't kids just lining up to come play for this team? especially defensively. I mean, there's not a lot of first round picks on this defense. There just isn't. But this is one hell of a defense, and they're very well coached and they play with a brotherhood. And it's just, this is the exact thing that you want to see as a fan. And I can't be more excited about what we have going here.
Yeah, Mike, you brought up, who wouldn't want to come play for this team. And I feel like a big part of this game, and I feel like a big part of this night was the Notre Dame program. Again, I said it, I don't know exactly when you popped in and when you were hearing, but it's like a big part of it was the school and Notre Dame's football program and the home game and the home atmosphere being showcased in a way that I don't think it has been showcased in a very long time, right? I mean, we're going way back.
It was a whole day.
It was the whole day.
It was a whole day. Yes.
And
perfect.
The thing about being that first home game too is the first game going out is everyone was there, because now everyone can get on a plane and go to some other game tomorrow. They can all travel to Penn State. They can all travel to Ohio State's close by. And I think Notre Dame got the spotlight. It was the only game on. It was the first one. And I just think the showcase, that is going to help the program immensely
so much
going forward.
I agree.
The other part, Mike, is that, Jamie and I have talked a lot about this. You've talked about it too. I think the thing about this team is that they are good in a way that Notre Dame has not been good, even when in 2018 when they went undefeated in the regular season. 2012 they went undefeated in the regular season. They are better than those teams by the numbers. Like, it is not an opinion thing. They are top 5 in SP plus in offense and defense. Notre Dame has not had a complete team like that. They have not been top 5 in both things since 1966 when they won a national title. The only 3 teams, Notre Dame football teams ever, that have been top 5 in SP plus and offense and defense is 46, 47, and 66, all national championship seasons. It's not so much that Marcus Freeman got Notre Dame to this point. It's that he got them here, and like, people are upset. Like, you're sitting here upset about the finish. People are in the chat upset about the finish. Why? Because that is how good Notre Dame football is right now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that people didn't understand is like, when people are talking about the game, when people, I see it on Twitter, they're talking about, Indiana, they didn't deserve to be here. Indiana, it should have been Bama. The thing is that Indiana is a good football team. Notre Dame is very good. And people, they didn't want to hear about it. After Notre Dame lost to NIU, it was Notre Dame is just, they are soft, and we're not going to pay attention. You got to pay attention now, because what they put out there tonight, that's a good football team. They took control from the very beginning. Everyone always says, well, what if Notre Dame is struggling in a game? What if they get behind? Well, you know what? They don't get behind because they're good. Good teams play from the front. Even when the bad thing happened, the pick at the beginning, the bad thing happened at the beginning. What happened? They made the play. Xavier Watts makes the interception. And you can see the photo of Jeremiah Love, goes 98 yards for a touchdown. And that's Notre Dame's taking control. And everyone hears it. And everyone sees it. It's great. It's great to see. It's great to see. I got a couple more super chats here that I want to get to. Gordon Butler, take the W and move on. We schlonged them by 3 scores prior to garbage time. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like the Georgia Tech game a little bit in that way.
Yeah.
Took control of the game. Another super chat from Terry Kelly. First time, long time. Thank you for being here. Brian Baelish says, Mr. Frank, beat Georgia. You and your staff are excellent. Thank you for that, Brian Baelish. And then Stubborn Mick, last super chat right here. Curt Cignetti looks like Brian Kelly with their arm folded, no answers. You know what? I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Mike. I was not impressed with Curt Cignetti one bit in this game, and I did not think he did a good job. Where do you come out on that? And what did you think of his antics before the game and then during the game?
I thought it was pathetic. I really do. And it was interesting. Marcus has kind of meet and greet at the after the game and everything. Marcus went, shook his hand, blah blah blah. Signetti wanted to kind of talk a little bit, and Marcus you could tell, just kind of blew him off. And it's like, act like you've been there before, dude. I mean, you haven't won anything. You know what I mean? You haven't won anything. You haven't done anything. Let me also just say, look, the end of the game, I'm not upset about that. It shouldn't happen. But I'll tell you this, Greg, I think that was the best damn thing that could happen, really, if you think about it. That is a teaching point that Marcus Freeman can go and say, tell you what, guys, you pull that crap against Georgia, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You can't do that. And that's a great teaching point. So I actually think that was the best thing that could happen to Notre Dame at the end of the game, is saying, look, you can't let this happen, because if you do, you're going to lose when we start playing better teams. As far as Signetti goes, who cares? We probably won't hear much about. I mean, he's going to be a good coach. Don't get me wrong, but it was funny. Saban, almost kind of scolding him, saying, I didn't teach you to talk a bunch of smack, and because Nick wouldn't do that. He's not going to do that. And for all Nick is, I mean, I had to love the fact when what's his name, said cheating SEC. Boy, he took that personally, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh man, did he take that personally? And I'm sitting there going, whatever. But the interesting thing is, when I just look at this situation and I see we are in such a good position right now because we have a really good football coach, and he's locked up now. And he takes these moments like the end of this game, and it's a teaching moment, and his team learns. It's interesting, Greg, if you remember way back at the beginning of the year, one of the things I said that I was most concerned about with this team was, how is the leadership on this team going to be? Because we went into fall camp, and I'm like, I don't even know who the leaders are. And when you can't name them, usually you're in trouble. We had an idea who might be, but we just didn't know. Mm-hmm. Man, team leadership has been outstanding this year. And you don't win 11 straight unless you have some really good team leadership. Yeah. Not just coaching, but team leadership. And so I'm just really excited about what I see. A guy points out here about Aeneas Williams. I mean, Aeneas Williams, big game today. And, the numbers aren't going to show it. He's not going to have a lot of rush yards. He's not going to have, but very important catches, very important blitz pickup, very important runs at the right time. These guys just continue. You plug somebody in, and they just continue to make plays, and that's such a good sign of coaching. That you can just put somebody else. I mean, Leonard Moore right now is probably our best corner. I mean, he's probably the best corner.
I don't know that they completed. I know that they completed one pass on him today. Yeah, they tied it. They tried him early. It wasn't there. It wasn't there.
When you looked at that particular play where Adon almost intercepted the ball, Leonard would have come down with that ball. You cannot play that any more perfect than he played that play. I mean, it's just, that is textbook, and it's just so darn exciting to see what is happening with this team. And I hope they can keep the staff together. I hope they can keep everybody together. And the thing that, if you listen to Power, well, I know you were, because you were here running the show. One of the things that I said was really important for Notre Dame to have happen is they have to activate Faison. You got to get him making some plays, because he's your guy that can make some plays. And I'm telling you, he finally showed up and did what you're hoping for. Again, he has to, he's been hurt and these types of things, but you can sit here and you had to get him going. And so that's exciting. And I see Coach up here. Please leave Jordan Faison alone and let the man play lacrosse. Okay, first of all, let me just say this. This is the first big game he's had in how many years? Or how many this year? So you can say what you want, but Jordan Faison hasn't had a big game. And part of it's because he's been injured. Part of it's been because he's been injured. But lots of drops, lots of things out there. And it's important for him to be. Let me ask you this. Who's paying his scholarship? Who's giving him NIL money? It's not lacrosse. They're not. It's Notre Dame football. That should be his focus from moving forward. I do think that you should let him play lacrosse. I think it's important, but Notre Dame football should be the focus. When you have only had one big game, now granted, this was a very big game to show up, and that's what I was hoping for. You got to have a big game. You got to get him activated. It was exciting to see, and I got to give Mike Denbrock credit because you got to give him credit in that he dropped that first pass in the screen game, and I'm like, man, what are you doing? You got to, and he went back to him, and I had a problem with the 1st and 5, right? As Greg will know.
I think everybody did.
I
mean,
was just
1st and 5, you throw 3 straight passes.
You
That's
run
not
the
it.
ball. It's so important to score there. So important. Run the ball 3 times. You will get 5 yards. Instead, they didn't. About the only thing I had a problem with, that call to Faison, that was a brilliant call. That was the dagger in the heart. Great call there. And so I really you got to give Denbrock some credit there. And let's be honest, Greg, this guy's had to just mishmash this whole entire thing the entire year, right? You come in, you got 6 starts out of your offensive line, and then you get guys hurt right away, and it's just like it's a mash unit up there. And we've seen what happens when you don't have a good offensive line. We've seen the results. It doesn't matter what you call, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter how much skill talent you have. If you can't protect your quarterback, it does not matter. And so, I think Denbrock has done a really good job in a lot of the things he's done this entire year. That 1st and 5, I'll say I was not a fan of that. I was not a fan of that at all.
I don't think anybody was. All right. People pointed out my sister is in the chat, my younger sister, Carrie Flamong. I think I should be invited on the pod. There, I said it. Listen, so many people ask me, Greg, are you at this game? No, I am not at the game, partly because tomorrow, Mike, is my mother's 70th birthday. She turns 70 tomorrow. The family is getting the family is getting together. So after but I am here. So they are all out like having fun. God help her. Maybe she's drinking right now. I don't know. Yeah. I am here doing the show, celebrating with you and the fans and everybody. And I'll do my morning after recap. And then I'm going to be with my mother on her 70th birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. Love you.
Awesome.
She's probably watching this. She's probably watching this. On the Jordan Faison situation. This is the biggest receiving game of the year. I'm pretty sure. 7 catches for 89 yards. They finally hit the post. They've been trying to hit the post. When he let it go, Mike, I'm thinking to myself, it was a perfect throw.
Absolutely.
When he let it go, I'm thinking to myself, they have thrown a pick on this every single time.
I know.
and they finally hit it at the time they needed it. And it was a great moment. It was a great throw. Like you said, exactly when they needed it. It was absolutely well needed in the moment. My mom is here. There she is. Rebecca Flamong. We're all listening. Love you, Greg.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Rebecca.
That was a big win. Yes.
We call her Becky. That's right. Ge Wang is in the chat. Anyone interested in a 27% off sale?
There you go.
Ge Wang, drop it. Code ISD. Maybe it'll be there tomorrow. Listen, the code goes through Christmas. The code goes through Christmas, 27% off. I'm going to say it. God, you better do it. 27% off. I said it on the show. All right, let's go through this a little bit, Mike, here. So I
do have to say one thing. The mush got off the schneid. All right. So the mush, yes. I haven't heard from him yet. I'm guessing he's probably passed out somewhere by now. Who knows? But I got to give the mush his due. They won, so I got to leave him alone. I got to give him his credit. I told him I'd get him on the pod so he could, run his mouth, and he deserves it. He deserves it. So I'm so happy for him. I just had to put that in there. But all right, go ahead, Greg.
And he took in our beautiful boy Jamie, who is at the game.
Yes.
So that's good for Jamie. All right, let's go through this a bit, Mike. Obviously, the touchdown by Jeremiah Love really gets it going. And listen, there were concerns about him. Marcus Freeman did say after the game, he's not 100%. He played well. He played well in this game. I I mean, he moved well, I should say. He had the big run. And I think obviously that's what he can do. And look, that's the thing that Notre Dame had in this game that Indiana just simply did not have. Like that type of dynamic player, that ability to just hit the home run and get things on the run. Like Indiana had some holes in this game. They had some opportunities in the running game, but they couldn't hit that home run that really got them going there. And then they get the second drive, the 16 play. I think it was 80 something yard drive from Notre Dame after the Indiana punt that was kind of controversial there. Took the lead in this game. How impressed were you with the way that Notre Dame started this one, just in kind of taking control of the game, and obviously the defense as well?
Well, first of all, you got to give Anthony Knapp all the credit in the world. That was a hell of a block against.
Yeah.
I mean, that dude's a player, man. That dude's a player, and he just absolutely crushed him. And Eli Raridan did a really good job in blocking in this game again. And so I just wish they'd throw the ball more to Eli because I think he's a good receiver. But I love seeing him in there, and he did such a great job with that. So I think it was important to hit it. And it was interesting that you mentioned that, Greg. And this is why for years, and people will say, sometimes, Mike will get a little bit too negative about recruiting. Well, Greg, this is why it matters, okay?
Yeah.
Because when you have a guy like Jeremiah Love, who's a very high 4-star player and a big-time player, he can change a game with one play. And I keep pointing this out to people about the 2005 USC Notre Dame game, right?
Yeah.
The game of the century. There was one player who made a difference in that game, and it was Reggie Bush. If Notre Dame had Reggie Bush, they'd win that game. USC had Reggie Bush, and that's why they win. So it's important to get these skilled players because they can change the game. They are momentum changers. They make these big plays, and all of a sudden you were in jail. I mean, I was sitting there after the pick, and I said, "Oh my gosh, this is a good defense. I don't know how we're going to drive 98 yards. Boom, next play, 98 yards, and here we go." So that's why this stuff matters. That's why it's important to land these elite players. And so I love the call. I love the execution. And basically, you just had an athlete take over and make a big play. Notre Dame didn't. Like McElroy kept saying, the line of scrimmage and blah blah blah. And I think Notre Dame owned the line of scrimmage up front more than Indiana did. But they didn't dominate this team, as you pointed out in the rush, numbers there, minus the big run. But guess what? That big run counts, and that's why they got off to the great start that they did. So Notre Dame is going to have to be a little bit more effective. I hope Rocco's okay. He's a big part of being able to run the football, so I hope he's okay. I saw him at the end of the game. I don't know if you did, but he was in street clothes, but he looked to be walking fine. So I'm hoping everything's okay. Maybe a concussion or, slight ankle sprain or whatever the case may be. But hopefully he's ready to go.
Remember, the next game isn't till New Year's Day.
11 days.
So
it's 11 days.
They've got a little bit more time than normal. It's almost like a bye week situation. Something I want to get to, Mike, here is this comment by Chris Conover. I'll say Chris Conover. Not sure how to say this. Notre Dame didn't look good on offense at all. Go look at the stats, and other than 2 splash plays, Notre Dame didn't do anything. And I think that, like, the sentiment, I think it's hyperbolic, first of all, which is fine. Like, it's a comment that I think. Let me see if I can get some team stats here. I'm going to see total first downs. 20 first downs for Notre Dame. Like, clearly, like, Notre Dame was able to move the ball. Like, 20 first downs is a good amount, okay? On 67 plays, you're averaging 5.9 yards per play. Like, I think the thing that people didn't understand, and we tried to, kind of explain this, like, throughout the week or throughout the last couple of weeks, like, we tried to impress on people, Indiana's defense is good. Like, Mike, if you look at all of our game,
but look
game
at Ohio
score
State.
predictions, Jamie
Ohio
had,
State had
I
a
think,
return for Ohio State had a return for a touchdown, right? And they
yes,
blocked a punt. I mean, that's 14 points right there. And
right.
everybody's like,
Like,
well, they won fairly easily. And it's like, yeah, but it's because they made those plays.
right,
Notre Dame didn't have anything given to them in this game. They had to earn everything. The only turnover was at their own 2-yard line, right? So they had to earn everything. I don't think that Notre Dame necessarily dominated in the run game, but Indiana's a good team defensively. They are a good team. That front, it's funny because I got a text from my friend saying, "Gee, I sure hope that Notre Dame can find some defensive linemen in the portal like Indiana did, because those are some dudes up there." And it's
yeah.
true. I mean, those are some really good players, and Notre Dame has played some pretty good teams with some fairly good defenses, but those guys, they were legit. There's no doubt about it. So I'm sorry to
Yeah. So
interrupt you, Greg.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
I just think it's important for people to understand. Like, you know, we can say, oh, it's Indiana, they're not that good, or it's whatever.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that Ohio State wasn't able to get over on them like this at all, right?
No.
They weren't able to do that. And the reason is because that's a good defense over there. We all predicted, like I predicted 28 points for Notre Dame. I think Jamie predicted 27, or he might have predicted 28 too. He might have predicted 28-17 or 27-17. No, Jamie was 20, but we all were in like the 20s, right?
Yeah.
And I think the reason for that is for this exact purpose, is because it was going to get ugly. They were going to force mistakes for Notre Dame. They were going to force inefficiencies for Notre Dame. That's a good defense over there. We look, I think Irish Sports Daily people and Hit and Hustle and Power Hour listeners were served well by the content that we've been putting out the last 2 weeks. Not to toot our own horn or anything, but just to point out, like, it is exactly what we said. We thought their defense was good, and we thought their offense was suspect. Their offense against the top defenses did not look good at all. They did look nothing like early in the year when Curtis Rourke's throwing for 10 yards per attempt, right? Didn't look anything like that. And so we said they can be stopped on offense, but their defense, it's a good defense over there. And so I just feel like people, the feeling that we have is we felt like Notre Dame is a route to put them away. Let's put them away. And they weren't able to do it until the very end with Jordan Faison. But all those drives in between, it's like, it's not that easy. And it hasn't been that easy against Indiana this year. But that's why it's good to go up 17-3, right? That's why it's good to go up 14-3. And by the way, Mike, 2 made field goals from Mitch Jeter in this game. Now,
yeah, it's important.
the blocked field goal, he chunked it. If anyone's ever chunked a wedge on a 50-yard shot and you chunk it into the lake that's right in front of you, that's exactly what he did. But that field goal at the end of the first half,
that's big time.
That was very, very important.
Big time.
Mike, what did you think defensively in this game? Right? Who kind of stood out? I thought Xavier Watts was a star.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
He was an absolute star. What did you see defensively that kind of stood out to you in this one?
Saw a lot of hustle. You know what I mean? I saw a lot of guys playing very, very hard. And I wouldn't say there was like too many guys that just absolutely dominated. I think Leonard Moore was very good in this game. I think he's been really, really good. I thought Jordan Clark played really well, minus a couple plays. I thought Bryce Young did a really good job. Burnham did a nice job.
Yeah.
Tui Halamaka did a nice job from what I saw. I think Riley Mills was really starting to dial things up. And, I'm not sure Howard is quite Howard yet. These 11 days are going to help, right? I think we'll have an even better version of Howard Cross once they play Georgia in these 11 days. So that's going to be exciting. And, of course, Jeremiah Love's going to get better and that type of thing. We just got to hope the guys who got injured will be back. But to me, it was a good plan, and it was a well-executed plan. And I was impressed with pretty much everybody. There wasn't anybody that I thought had a bad game. I thought, pretty much everybody had a good game. And, I mean, really, hard not to say so when they really only gave up 3 points. Of course, at the end of the game, when you're playing zone prevent defense, that's not what Notre Dame does. That's not who they are. That's what you do to close out a game, so it doesn't get out of hand too quickly. But when they played what Notre Dame does, they played fantastic, Greg. You can't play any better than they did. You just can't. Right. So
they really just gave them kind of no hope there. Al Golden gave a quote after the game. Looks like the coordinator spoke. He's talking about how the defense played at the end. At that point, I didn't think continuing to show elaborate pressures in that situation was to our benefit, to be quite honest with you. So I could have called a better game at the end there for the guys and helped them out. So look, he dialed it back a little bit, right? As you just alluded to.
Sure.
I mean, look, it was one way throughout the whole game, and then it was one way for the last 2 minutes, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty clear what's going on there. What he had going on. I thought, again, Christian Gray, he's got some like tough moments when that ball's in the air and his back turned. There's this a little bit of uncertainty for him, and you like to get over that. I think Xavier Watts was an absolute star in this game. And I think when you go back and look at what he did in the run game, as well as the interception, he was filling on the run. I think he was as good as he's ever been. Again, how do you not vote him first team All-American? I don't know how that happens. I thought Adon Schuler had a very good game, right? He's had some tackle problems. He didn't have tackle problems in this one. Jordan Clark had a good game beyond the missed tackle at the end that led to a touchdown. The linebackers again were very good. And that's the thing. Like, I don't think people really understand how good this defense has been. And I think that people think that they're a product of the teams that they've played.
Yeah.
And that's just not it. Like, people need to wake up to the fact that they need to wake up to the fact that this is a good football team. Specifically, it's a very good defense. Just to point out here, Curtis Rourke, 20 of 33 for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns that came at the end, obviously, in the interception, 61% completion percentage, passer rating of 129.3. So we came into the game at 181 passer rating, 129 today, 70% passer, 61% today. They rushed for
they made it easy yards for him at the end, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
If you would have saw, his numbers before the last 5 minutes, it would have been something completely.
And you know what? That was kind of the case with USC as well.
Totally,
right?
Yeah.
How they just gave a whole bunch of yards in that fourth quarter there.
Yeah.
They ran for 63 yards on 27 attempts. So
that was a good job by the defense. You know what I mean? I know Indiana was not a great rushing team, but they were solid. You know what I mean? And that's going to be a key part for Notre Dame going down the stretch here is, can you stop the run? Because if you can, and you can make a team more one-dimensional like they did in this game, and just kind of pin your ears back, that's where you want to be as a defense. And so I'm excited about what I saw defensively. I mean, it's really, really a well-disciplined, extremely well-coached team, and so fun to watch. I'm telling you, Greg, I'm so excited about this, man. I just am. It's just, I don't know what's going to happen against Georgia. I don't know. I think that they're going to play well. That doesn't mean they're going to win, but I do think that they're going to show up. It's going to be a very close game, one way or the other. And I think Notre Dame has a real shot to win. And, I'll probably pick them to win when it's all said and done, because I think what's going to happen is you have a guy like Rourke, right? And Rourke is a very experienced veteran quarterback. And we saw what Al Golden did to him, right? Now you got an inexperienced quarterback, a guy who has not started a game. And all of a sudden he has to come in and start playing against this type of a defense. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for anybody. And so I'm excited to see what happens with this. And I can't wait. Can't wait to see. I got to get running because I still got some company here.
Going.
So I wanted to say thanks everybody for being a member. Thanks God for sponsoring the show. Thanks for doing a great job as always, Greg. And we will be talking again soon. Looking forward to Monday's Power Hour and can't wait.
Yeah, you got Power Hour on
Excited
Monday,
to
right?
watch. What's that?
Yeah, you got
Power Hour on Monday. Yeah, and so I'm excited about what we're gonna see here, and can't wait for tomorrow. It's nice knowing that you got one in, and I think your points about this was basically a 4-hour commercial from Notre Dame today.
Yeah,
I think that's very true. It's actually longer because of the 3.5 hours where they played well. So that's another 3.5 hours where they really showcase the program. So this was a big win for Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame program. So Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy holidays. I hope and can't wait we'll talk again on Monday. Fired up.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. The show rolls on. We're still going. Thank you, everyone. If you're here already, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're gonna keep it rolling. We're gonna keep it rolling. A lot of people are fired up. My boy Frank Vitovich, my old boss over at UHND, my old pod mate, love the Santa hat. Notre Dame will beat UGA. Doesn't have to be close. You know what's interesting? In the pregame I was watching, I think it was Sinceri, the quarterback coach, OC for Indiana. He was actually given a pregame talk, and I don't know if he was mic'd up, but he got caught on a hot mic saying it doesn't have to be close. And that's true. He was proven correct on that. It did not have to be close, and for a long time, it really wasn't, Coach. It really wasn't close. So, but the show goes on. Let's talk more about this game. Yeah, I thought, listen, the thing with Indiana is that everything that they were trying to do on offense was that RPO stuff, right? And they were trying to hit those RPOs. They were trying to get behind Notre Dame's defense there, and at times it worked. But like it was hard for them to move the ball all the way down the field. Like they'd get a couple of first downs, and then they would they'd be forced to punt. The drive would stall. They'd be forced to punt. And I just felt like, again, Cignetti just did not coach in a way that I felt like gave his team the best chance to win. Right? You're punting in situations where it's like you got to keep the ball, and I feel like not enough coaches. And Marcus Freeman is not this way, thankfully. Like, he's really grown into this. It's too many coaches, like, they don't value the ball enough. And he just wasn't valuing having the ball, right? And I just thought that was a big mistake. Again, I'm impressed with his team. I'm impressed with what they've done. They've got a good group. Again, that defense, I'm excited about that defense and what they could do. I thought that was a good defense. I'm just not into the way that he coached this game. Like, I didn't like it when, he gave the talk. I think it was after the first quarter or after the first half, talking about how we got to tackle, we got to throw the ball to the right spot. Like, kind of, I don't want to say making excuses, but just kind of putting it on the way the players were playing. It's like, you got to own the fact that you're giving the ball to Notre Dame and they're going around and scoring touchdowns. Like, I think he needed to be a little bit more, kind of self-aware of how he was giving them he wasn't really putting them in the best situation. And so I feel like he's got to do a better job there. Again, I wasn't impressed with his game day ability, the way, and able to put his team in the best position possible. And you want to do that. And you can put your social media page, your small business in the best position possible with your media company. And you can go with VSR Media, founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh. VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or are aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long-form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Yeah. Sig Master. not Signetti, not the Sig Master, not at all, not at all. Someone asked a question about. I should have started, but someone asked a question about Georgia and how just kind of an early look at how Notre Dame kind of fares against them. Here's the thing about Georgia that concerns me a little bit, or something that it's just kind of a different animal when dealing with Indiana, is that they have the institutional, I'll say, knowledge of playing in these moments and playing in these kind of big games, something that Indiana did not have, right? Indiana's never been in this position, right? No, I mean, Notre Dame's not, they've been in this position. They failed. This particular team, these particular players haven't been in this position, but Notre Dame's been kind of around big games like this. Indiana has not. Georgia obviously has. Right now, you're going to New Orleans. You're going into a dome, right? There's no elements there. And that's a team that knows how to win in knockout situations. They know how to perform in those kind of environments. And, that's something that Notre Dame is going to have to deal with in the next round. Now, yeah, obviously you have the backup quarterback, right? But like that, even in itself, is somewhat of an advantage to Georgia, because Notre Dame has some film of Stockton, but they don't have a ton of film of Stockton. The good news, in a way, for Notre Dame is the way that teams have been kind of moving the ball on Notre Dame with their passing game, with their quick pass. That is not what Georgia does. You do have to be a little bit concerned with Arian Smith, their wide receiver, who is a burner. He is an absolute burner, and he is faster than pretty much everyone that takes the field against him. Drops a ton of passes. Georgia drops a ton of balls, a ton of passes Georgia puts on the ground, right? But when they catch it, they got some dudes. And so that's something that Notre Dame's going to have to deal with, but they're not as wide open. Now, I can see the game playing out similar to this game, where there's going to be some kind of empty possessions. There's going to be some possessions that end in a way that you don't want, kind of like the Texas A&M game. It's going to be very similar to that, right? I think Notre Dame is going to have a tough time. I don't think to be honest, I don't know that the Georgia defense has been as good as the Indiana defense, right? Indiana never, ever had a game against, the type of game on defense the way Georgia did against Georgia Tech. They never had a game like that, where they just absolutely got dog walked up and down the field. And that is going to be the formula for Notre Dame against Georgia, being able to run the ball that way. Now, we got to see what's going on with Rocco Spindler. That's big for Notre Dame, right? Mike said he was walking okay. If it's concussion or something like that, that's something to monitor. But Notre Dame needs to be able to run the ball in that game. And I honestly feel better about Notre Dame running it in that one than I do about Notre Dame running it in this one. There's going to be problems with the pass rush. Again, Georgia's got some elite pass rushers. Okay, Walker and Mikael Williams for Georgia. They are elite edge guys. They can come get you. What's this? Sergio saying a call-in number. I don't have a call-in number. I don't have that. Although I did hear that StreamYard or YouTube, or the what we use for this, they might be coming out with some of that stuff. So stay tuned. Sergio says Notre Dame -1. Listen, this is where Marcus Freeman has the Notre Dame football program right now, where Notre Dame is favored in a bowl game against Georgia in New Orleans. That's where Marcus Freeman has the Notre Dame football team right now. ESPN bet, Sergio says Notre Dame -1.5. I mean, listen, that in and of itself, is like a big deal. That is a big deal, in my opinion. That Notre Dame is favored, right? There's going to be a lot of people picking Notre Dame too. I'm telling you, it's a good football team. Jason Z says KVA be back. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how Marcus Freeman starts talking about him. I do think they need him though, because like it is not that Drake Bowen isn't a good pass rusher from that spot. He's fine, right? He does a good job. He got some good pressure today. KVA is a difference maker though. KVA is a difference maker. Per ESPN, Georgia's a favorite. I don't know. How can that be? If they're Notre Dame is -1.5, Notre Dame is favored, and it's a neutral field too. Let's go, Notre Dame. I mean, if even if like okay, Georgia -1, fine. I'm confused by this. If ESPN says they're -1 or a 1-point favorite, Notre Dame -1.5, that would make Notre Dame the favorite. I don't know what that means. It seems like that. Jason Z says, you guys talk about IU guys trying to roll Riley in the piles. No, I didn't see anything that was dirty. I didn't think there was anything that dirty or anything like that. Alakino says, who cares about who's the favorite? Got to believe. That's right. I think we do believe. Listen, I think Notre Dame ought to believe. You know what's funny about that is Jason Z said, hinted at it, the pregame presser, punish him for keeping the ball. It's funny that Notre Dame definitely did not run Riley Leonard in this game as much. And I think that there was a lot of that going on for Notre Dame where they clearly didn't want to use Jeremiah Love too much. 8 carries for him. He had the least number of carries between Price and Leonard. Leonard got sacked a couple of times, but like they didn't want to run Leonard all that much, clearly. Because I think in the second half, I thought that was the way. Like Notre Dame kept saying, like, or you kept thinking to yourself, how are they going to move the ball? I think one of the ways was to run Leonard. I don't think they wanted to. I don't think they wanted to run him, given the situation, right? They had already had a bunch of injuries. Riley Mills went down. Spindler went down. Bryce Young went down. So it's just like that's the situation that they had. I didn't think they wanted to try him out. I didn't think they wanted to try him. Alakino asked how many carries did Aeneas Williams has. He had 4 for 24. He was effective. He was effective in this game. Definitely effective. Excuse me, I got to take a drink of water here. Thank you. Yeah, he was effective. Vamos says Georgia -1.5, Notre Dame -1.5 ESPN. So it's basically a pick 'em. But again, a pick 'em against Georgia in the playoffs. You know, and listen, that would be. I mean, it was a huge game. Like I said, this one though, this game, biggest game, the biggest win for Notre Dame since the '94 Cotton Bowl against Texas A&M. I just think that's what I think it is. I don't know that there's any other way to see it. It's a postseason game. Call it a bowl, call it not. It's an 11-1 team, top 10 in the postseason. It's the biggest win Notre Dame's had. They're 12-1. Marcus Freeman, what an absolute, just an absolute coaching job by him. The team rebounds from a loss to NIU on this very field. The fans got paid off, coming to the game, going through. I mean, there was so many people. I'm really curious I hope we can get some people in the show who are at the game tomorrow morning to talk about this, because I just think there were so many people that I was hearing from who had people who were going, knew people who were going out of their way to go to this game. People who ended up at this game, the tickets, people trying to get tickets to this game, the people trying to get credentials for this game, the fact that they never hit the open market, right? Like, I just feel like it was such a special day for the football program. And I kept thinking that. I texted a couple of buddies of mine before the game. I kept texting a couple of buddies of mine before the game, like, man, if Notre Dame loses and with this crowd and the way they are, I would just be stunned if they lost the game, and they didn't. They paid it off. So that's just like, it's a big deal. Sergio says, Freeman with good update on Mills. Optimistic it's not season ending. Okay. I mean, he was walking all right. I'm curious. I mean, look, I'll give credit for this. I'll give the staff credit. They're pretty careful with these guys, you know. I think like what you saw with Jeremiah Love after the or during the USC game, right? Like they if you're risking something, right? They don't put you out there. If it's a risk, they're very careful. So I'll give him credit. But he was walking around. He was walking around. So didn't think it was season ending. There was a question. CFB Hertz says, "Who's your upset call for tomorrow?" Well, oh man, is this not going to come up? Let's go, bring it up. Here we go. Who's your upset call for tomorrow? Well, I can't see Texas losing. That stunned me. They're too good on defense, I think. And like Clemson is not that great. Let's see. I don't see. I mean, I guess it would have to be. I don't think Ohio State's going to lose, but it would have to be, honestly. I think the best team out of the teams playing is SMU. So I'll say SMU. I don't think it'll happen, but I think the most likely scenario is SMU wins the game. Or the most likely scenario is it's SMU who pulls the upset. I don't think it'll happen, though. I think SMU is good, though. I think they're a good team. Jason Z says Bryce Young, excuse me, shown running in tunnel after the game. Tickets for what it's worth. Yeah, maybe he's all right. Jim Scales said Snead had some words for Sig on IG live post game. That's interesting. Interesting. Frankie says Penn State. Yeah, I think Penn State's good. As much as we kind of hated on them, I think they're pretty good. SMU, I do think SMU is underrated, though. I do think SMU is an underrated team. They've played really well since changing the quarterback. Jamie and I talked about it. We talked about it some. Let's put up some more game photos here. Some more game photos. Marcus Freeman. Any other comments here? Alakino says, I don't think Tennessee beating Ohio State is an upset. Well, I mean, they're favored. Ohio State's favored by a pretty good amount. So, I mean, just based on that, it would be an upset, right? It would definitely be an upset. It would definitely be an upset. John Eli says, can we have the gold nameplates on the back of the jerseys permanently? I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I wonder what they do for the Sugar Bowl, because they'll put names on the back for the Sugar Bowl, but I wonder what, like, are they going to wear white, gold, white? It'll be interesting because Georgia's, technically the home team, so they're going to wear their darks. It'll be interesting what they come up with. Sam K. This is a good comment. Mitchell Evans don't want to be a downer, bit of concern. Yeah, I didn't think he played a great football game, to be honest. Especially from a blocking point of view. I didn't know that he blocked as well as he would like to. There's just a lot of looseness to him. He had that third down. I'm going to call it a drop. I mean, it hit him in the arms, the chest, and all those things. He's got to be able to catch that. I mean, look, you got to be a big time player in these games. He's got to catch that ball, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think you gotta do something like that. Jim Scales says green numbers. I like that. I like the idea of green numbers. Fumbled and dropped. Yeah, he had a fumble in this game. He had a drop, and he had a fumble, a drop, and then several missed blocks. It's just not the best game for him. Alakino, yeah. I mean, Anthony Knapp kept the all Big Ten guy silent. You're talking about Mikael Kamara. Let me see his stats here. Let me just check him out. I don't know that he made a big play. I don't know that he made a big play all night. Let's see. Kamara listed with 3 tackles, no tackles for loss, no quarterback hurries. I mean, he led the NCAA, and I think he was he led the NCAA in pressures. I think it was. So that's huge, right? To enable to negate him. Anthony Knapp, huge game on that front. Emil Wagner, huge game on that front. I had they got him down for 1 quarterback hurry and 2 sacks. 2 sacks for them. So that Notre Dame did the job. Let's see. Vamos Oscar says Rocco out concerns. Is that did Marcus Freeman say something about that? I'm trying to navigate multiple things here with the chat and the putting up the pictures, putting up pictures and everything. I haven't seen anything. Was there anything that Marcus Freeman said about Rocco Spindler? Sergio said there was a quote about Mills, but I'm just kind of curious about Rocco. So if anyone's got any intel on that, I'm willing. Rajon says the fake field goal was bizarre. Yeah, I mean, what's funny is like I think they were bailed out by them giving them timeout when I don't think they got the timeout in. If you look at the sideline when they started running in and Notre Dame snapping the ball, I don't think they got the time in time at all. It obviously was going to be short. I did not love the fake field goal in that spot because you were so close and like it was 14-3 and you could go up by 2 scores at that point. Like go up by it was I think it would have made it 20-3. I think it was going to make it. And it's like, you can go up 3 scores at that point. I was like this is not a good time for this. I did not, but I think the obviously the end around on the kickoff was almost a huge play. Almost a huge, breaking it at the start of the second half. That was a great call by Biaggi. Bo Collins he's just big into special teams. Bo Collins on the onside kick, you got to be a little more aggressive going for the ball there. You can't let someone jump in front of you like that. Let's see. Vamos says he hasn't seen Rocco news. Alakino says the Carpenter guy was a G. He was. They've got some good players on that defensive line, I'm telling you. Absolutely does. Patrick Hennessy says, seems like we had Notre Dame had 5 drops. Weird game, dominant, then what the heck plays? Yeah, it was. There was a good amount of drops again. Bo Collins had 1. Faison had 1. Evans had 1. I don't know that there were others. Look, it's been a problem, right? It's been a problem all year. Someone said they're dealing with a cold. I'm dealing with a cold myself, so I apologize for that, everybody. Sergio says Rocco looked like concussion. If he's a concussion, then they've got a good chance of getting him back with the extra days. They got the extra days. Alakino says bench Collins. No, they're not going to bench it. The other part is like he made a couple big plays in this game, right? He got a couple of passes for 18 yards. He had 1 on 3rd down. Got outside, and it led to a first down there. And I think they might have scored a touchdown on that drive. It was a big 3rd down conversion. That's big time from Bo Collins, right? They need that stuff. They need him to. They play him the snaps that he needs to make those plays, and he did make those plays. He missed on another one, but look at you gotta do what you can in those situations. Last comments here. Signetti, man, just I don't know. Interesting. He's an interesting guy to talk all that trash, and that doesn't seem like he coached the kind of game that made you think that I'm ready. I want to go take it. I'm going to go take it from Notre Dame. It didn't happen. While we're sitting here, I hope everyone has a great Christmas. That's why I'm wearing my Santa hat, right? Nice one. Christmas is coming. Merry Christmas to everybody. Man, it's going to be such a much better Christmas now that Notre Dame has won this game. And you can, everyone can just sit back and enjoy the playoff games tomorrow, right? It's like the monkey's off your back. Gosh, how dreadful would Notre Dame or would the games be tomorrow if Notre Dame dropped the game today? It would have been just so much less fun. And they win the game. You get to go through the holidays. You get to go through the holidays with Notre Dame having won their playoff game. And isn't it just great to have Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl January 1st? That's college football. You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame, it's the last, and not just that, but it's the last game of the day too. You got the last game of the day. You got a playoff game on the 31st, and then you got the 8:45 Eastern time, Notre Dame, Georgia. It's the last one of the day. You get to watch all those games ahead of time. I mean, the time from Notre Dame playing this game and then moving on to play is like there's so many college football games that are going to take place that we kind of get to enjoy. It's just it's big time. And look, Notre Dame has a huge opportunity. I'm telling you, Notre Dame and Georgia they are very beatable. And to be clear, Notre Dame is beatable too. If you were to ask me, and we'll talk about this in the coming weeks, but to me, Notre Dame's inability to push the ball, right? They had one pass over 10 air yards in the game before the post to Faison. Their inability to push the ball makes them vulnerable, right? And we saw today that there are times when you can't push the ball and you got to be efficient moving the ball down the field, and there are inefficiencies there that make it difficult, and but that being said, like Georgia's got weaknesses too. Georgia is not the most sound team. Georgia is not without warts, right? They got a backup quarterback. Like I said before, it is an advantage to them that Notre Dame doesn't have a ton of tape, right? They can do things that they haven't really shown, right? Notre Dame's got to be able to stop the run in this game. They've got to be able to stop the run. They've got to avoid chunk passing plays, right? Georgia, I don't think they want to dink and dunk the ball down the field with this quarterback. I think they're going to run the ball, and I think they're going to try to hit the ball over the top a little bit. Throw some screens. They want to hit the tight end, number 4. They're going to want to hit him, right? They're going to want to be smart. So it's just they have an opportunity here, and I hope Notre Dame is able to. I hope Notre Dame's able to take advantage of the opportunity that they have, because they really do. They've got a good situation. Walker 06 says ESPN just put up a stat that this was Notre Dame's 6th game being in the lead for more than 55 minutes in a game. They've been dominant. They've been absolutely dominant. And that's great. That's great. That's a sign of a good football team. Good football teams are in the lead, right? Notre Dame wins by 10. They covered again. Great teams cover. It's an old adage. Patrick Hennessy says, I would not have watched till the championship had Notre Dame lost. Yeah, I mean, it would have been a huge bummer. But they paid it off. Everyone's going to go through Christmas having Notre Dame won the game. Notre Dame players get to go through Christmas having won the game. And it's a great, like I said, the start of the show, it's a great night for Notre Dame football. It was a huge night for Notre Dame football. Coach Humph makes the point. Greg, this has to be huge for all the recruits to have their eyes on tonight's game. Absolutely, 100%. It's just enormous. I think it's enormous for the university and the brand and Marcus Freeman and what he's trying to build, that the university, their home game atmospheres and the way that it can be was showcased the way that it was, with McAfee there, with Saban there. It's just enormous. It's enormous. It's huge. And I'm excited that, they were able to come through and win the game. Walker, where are we going at here? Walker 06. No style points needed. Win by 1, and I'm happy a win is a win. Yeah, and that's where Notre Dame is right now, right? If this is the NFL playoffs, and I think, you got to start getting in that mindset. Like, it kind of doesn't matter what it looks like. You're up 27-3. You end up winning 27-17. Who cares, right? We don't have anyone to impress anymore. The committee doesn't need to be impressed. The voters don't need to be impressed. No one has to be impressed. Just win the game. Notre Dame's up 27-3. The game's won. The game is won. And they'll go on and win. It doesn't matter, right? It only matters is that you've won and you get to move on to the next one. People's opinions, they're not important. They're not important. Joel Klatt, his opinion doesn't matter. Like, everyone's talking about Joel Klatt picked Indiana to win outright. People have been picking against Notre Dame all year. It doesn't matter anymore. It absolutely does not matter. And Notre Dame's been good. Notre Dame has been very, very good this year. And it's great to see. It's great to see. All right. I think I'm going to end it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please hit the like. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going live. Links to the podcast are in the description below. Let me just read this tweet. This tweet from Matt Fortuna to Scott Van Pelt on Riley Mills. There's optimism. I won't get into details on what they told me, but it sounds like it's not season ending. We just got to get him right here in the next 10, 11 days to get him ready for the upcoming contest down in New Orleans. So that's what that is. But we'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time, doing morning after recap, stats, all those things, right? All the stats. We'll be back, talk more about it. We'll talk about the next day's games, talk about those things. It's going to be a great day of college football tomorrow. It'll be even better because Notre Dame got the job done today against Indiana, 27-17. So have a great night, rest of your night, everyone. We'll see you in a few hours. And what are we always going to do? Keep hitting and hustling. Talk to you guys.